Oh crap! So I've seen you've come back for more. Well, I can't blame you. So in this video I shall be talking about the lovers. So we start off with the Rider-Waite, looking at the major card. So at the top you have an angel, and at the bottom you have Adam and Eve. Now behind them you have the tree of knowledge behind Eve, and also with Satan there's the snake, and you've also got the tree of eternal life, so which is signified by the fact that man was once immortal, essentially. So classically the card is usually seen as a relationship card, between two equals, maybe in relationships, marriage, that sort of thing. But it's also depicted as a definition of a union of opposites. So it's not just between a couple, but it's between the opposites of a man and a woman, being physically opposites in that regard. So it's also, it can be a union of opposites. So obviously you have the angel there basically being the matchmaker, and it's also a depiction of kind of like the duality within your own self, kind of like an inner conflict, not necessarily a conflict, but more something more along the lines of two conflicting components of you, kind of like the yin and yang sort of thing. And this card also signifies the healing of a rift. So, for example, you've got the mountain in the background there, and that can be perceived, that could be like representative of the rift, and the two people no longer letting that get in between the two of them. And it also depicts a crossroads where two opposite choices are in front of you, but one of them doesn't seem any less appealing than the other. So, so what I'm saying is this card has a lot more depth into it than a lot of people would think. Not particularly romantic, but that's kind of how a lot of tarot goes, really. So we're going to move on to my top 10, essentially. Two sets of top 5, if I'm really honest. Okay, now these are going to be the top 5 cards that kind of cover the classic look and appearance of the lovers. So first we'll start with the lovers from the Zombie Tarot. Now, I've not reviewed the Zombie Tarot yet, but as I said, we'll get to them all eventually. And this one's quite nice because it's a nice embrace, but obviously it still goes with the form of the opposites, because man and woman, dead and alive. It's also just a card I've always a deck I've always quite liked anyway. And this kind of has the nice depiction of the 50s, and I've always quite found it funny in the fact that she's holding his heart literally, and he's got a little bottle of perfume for her. So stuff like that always seems quite nice, and in fact you've got roses around them and it's midnight. It would be a romantic scene if he hadn't been mutilated. So next we've got the one from the Happy Tarot. Now as in my review for the Happy Tarot, and any cards here I've already reviewed, there'll be links at the bottom of the description. And the Happy Tarot always makes me smile, and I just love how Adam has a nice little cheeky wink there, and Eve looks as pleased as punch just to kind of be there, and the angel's having a great time up there. Even Satan is looking sorry never thought I'd say in a sentence, even Satan looks really pleased to be there. But yes, it's always this. As I said, I can't look at half of the deck. I can't look at half of these cards in this deck without smiling. And come on, and if the concept prospect of a little smiley Satan doesn't make you at least giggle, then I don't know what to say. Just for context, I'm not actually a Satanist. So next we go on to the Gay Tarot, and once again it's night and day, moon and star, sun and moon, black and white, cropped and red, or plaited, I'm not quite sure, but it's the same mountain, they're at the same location, and that also does show the duality nature as well. So it's, once again, most of these cards will look quite nice and will have a nice kind of appeal to them and a nice aesthetic, but this one's I've always thought was quite lovely. Okay, now we're talking about the fee. This one, I think this one's quite worthy of top 5 status, or at least top 5 classic, in the fact that there's more of an opposite in the picture here, in the fact that it's golem-like. I imagine that's probably more stone, but that's quite golem-like. He's quite golem-like, and she's made of air, and it's still quite a lovely depiction there. And the fact that they're both just getting on with it, they're very happy. They think it's all quite nice, really. They're enjoying themselves, and sometimes it also shows that the love can come, that you can kind of love anyone, even if they are your opposite. Okay, I'm getting a bit schmaltzy now, but with that in mind, we have the Lovers from the Art Nouveau Tarot. And the Art Nouveau Tarot pretty much have all the sort of thing going on, but still it's a nice classic romantic looking design, and if you look closely it looks like the Starship Enterprise in the background, if you want to look really carefully. But it's a nice, once again, a nice classic depiction. So now we kind of move on to the less traditional style of tarot. So for this top 5, I'm going to go for this card, which is from the deck The Grail. Now the deck I own is in Italian, and I've not actually gotten around to trying to actually get it translated, but I've got this box here, so I believe that's supposed to be the Grail. So anyone out there who has a Google Translate, go right ahead. So the reason I've gone for this one as the top 5 untraditional book version is because it's the fact it's two men dueling. So that shows more of the duality and the conflict, or the meeting of two opposites, merely in the fact that they are clearly on different sides, but have decided to kind of put their differences aside and just get on with it. So that's always quite an interesting version, because when you go for a deck and you go, oh, I've got the Lovers, oh, it's 2 blokes with swords, that's a bit weird. Yeah, so it kind of emphasises the fact it doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship depiction of love. So next we've got the Lovers from the Welcome to Night Vale Tarot. Now, those of you who are fans of Welcome to Night Vale, well done you. For those who don't know Welcome to Night Vale is a podcast based in a fictional desert town rather, in America, and it's done in the style of a local radio station. It's definitely worth listening to. If you like podcasts but haven't really heard of this podcast, I'd be very surprised. But Welcome to Night Vale is definitely worth listening to. So this is the Lovers from this series, and they are depicted as 2 people who have turned into trees and have been bound together, and that's sweet yet horrifying, which is kind of Night Vale in a nutshell, I guess. But I do like this one just because, first of all, the artwork from this deck is amazing, and it's sometimes a bit frightening as well when you consider, sometimes in a romantic sense, when you consider, the sort of things that you wind up doing because of romance and out of love. So sometimes this could kind of depict the love is blind to everything else, depending on how you read, but I've always found this a really cool card. So next we have the Lovers from the Barbieri Tarot. I still can't figure out how you're supposed to pronounce it, but I think this one's always quite... Most of the cards in this deck are pretty cool, as you saw in the unboxing, which there'll also be a link in the description. So this one's this one just looks amazing because you've got beautiful artwork in the wings, and it's more of, and it looks to me more of support rather than companionship or a union. So it looks more like one is there to support the other rather than them both being equal in this. So that's always an interesting spin on it. There's a lot of meaning behind that, merely in the fact that there's no traditional look to this. It's all this is a deck that does its own thing, and to kind of do its own version of the Lovers is quite an interesting facet, just because I said it's more about support rather than duality or just learning about teamwork. It's more of one is helping the other rather than them both working together. Now this card is from the Ghost Spirit Tarot, and this one kind of drew me in because it's once again very, very different from the classic look, and you can't really see, you wouldn't be able to look at that and assume it's even one of the majors outside of the Death card. And it does appear to be the Angel of Death taking her away, but it's also on the fact that she doesn't look like she wants to be there. It doesn't look like it's teamwork or companionship. It looks like it's force, but then maybe the acceptance of change. But as I said, this one has more of the feeling of the Death card, and I just wanted to, and I put this in my top 5 just because it's so different that the others you can look at them and kind of see it. This one you just can't, and I thought that was at least worth a nice mention. But yeah, this really stood out to me when I looked through them all. And now we come to a deck that everyone loves, the Wild Unknown Tarot. So to kind of end on a nice bright note, I thought I'd use this one. This one is the Lovers, obviously, and it's two, I'm not great with birds, 2 swans, maybe, I'm not quite sure, but whatever they are, whichever large bird they are, it's quite nice. It's just a very nice looking card. Nice positivity around it, aiming more for union and companionship rather than romance, but then again they are there for each other, and it is assumed that one is male and one is female. I'm not going to try to say anything trendy about that, but it's just a nice little image. It's not saying too much, it's just lovely, and it's just a lovely card, and which is one of the reasons why this is a very popular deck, because a lot of the cards are like this. So once again, there's an unboxing video, I believe, so check that out as well, link in the description. Yeah, so that was my top 5 of the Lovers, and I hope you enjoyed it. Well, I hope you found that video informative, and once again, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Sicx Tarot. Now, if you excuse me, I must head over and do some wooing. And do you have a happy Valentine's Day?